Guys, right now we are going to bring in our guest of the night, Epudemic. He's a Call of Duty all-star, I'd like to believe. I've seen his clips. I think he's really solid and absolutely a friend of the show, and he's coming into the studio very soon. Everybody, please give it up for Epudemic!
What's going on? What's going on?
Woo! Oh, he's an all-star explicitly. He's an all-star. Somebody keep that rabble down over in the audience. What is he talking about? Disparaging my guests like that? Unbelievable. Graham, thank you so much for taking the time to come to this. This guy's. You're getting a lot of hecklers in the audience right now, Graham. What's the deal with that?
Reese Beams in here.
We got Reese Beams and explicitly really just talking trash. That's unfortunate.
Go Reese. I watched him choke a finals earlier, so I don't know about him.
Ah, okay. All right. Well, maybe he'll choke on his words just like that finals. So for the fans who are unaware of who you are, they haven't seen you yet, they haven't checked you out, could you give us a quick rundown of who you are and what your content is?
Yeah, my name is Graham, is what most people call me, but the alias is Epudemic. So I've been streaming for around 2.5 years, I'd say, kind of off and on. But I'm active duty military, so I'm kind of living all over the place. So my streaming in the beginning started with Call of Duty and stuff like that, but was mixed in with IRL streams, traveling around South Korea and Japan, doing a bunch of different content in that sense. And then things really started to pick up, and kind of just pushed it from there. Moved back to Colorado where I'm stationed at currently, and yeah, still streaming, and that's pretty much it.
So I know you're a big Call of Duty fan. That's your main thing. Do you play other games aside from that?
So Call of Duty is what you're mostly gonna see. Between like tournaments, I play search and destroy tournaments mostly. We do chows every now and then, which is where you just you find different people on Twitter or that you just played maybe for like $1 or something like that, and you play for usually between 5 to however much you want to play for against each other per person, and then you chow them. But it's all using like the competitive rule sets that the pros use and stuff like that. Just usually not going, if people are familiar with GAs, usually not using like general agreements. We go based off like what the website's rules are. So do tournaments, but I also play any really FPS games. So Overwatch, I used to play a good bit in Korea, and Ring of Elysium and Battalion 1944 were kind of the other bigger games that I played a lot. But never got really into like League of Legends, WoW, and those kind of games. I like sometimes to watch them, but I've never been big into playing them.
Yeah, that's what happens when you watch League of Legends. You think, oh wow, this is really cool, I want to play, and then you play, and you're like, oh, I realized why I wasn't doing that.
Yeah, I couldn't figure it out at all. I felt lost. I mean, I was already just never really good with like mouse and keyboard to begin with, and then that just like all these powers and abilities and stuff, and everybody else knows what the heck they're doing. They've been doing this, since birth. these WoW fans and these League of Legends fans. So,
were you playing League in Korea?
Yeah, actually, that
okay. Okay, well, that was your mistake right there.
Yeah, I was on Korean servers too, so it was zero chance. Yeah.
Yeah, you're getting bullied from day one. That's terrible. So, you play a lot of Call of Duty. What do you think of Cold War?
So Cold War has a lot of ability. So I can talk about it in a competitive sense, and I can talk about it for just the average Call of Duty player. We can do both sides of that. In the competitive standpoint, I think it has a lot of potential, but it's in a bad place for the fact of there's no anti-cheat. So for those who don't know, the Call of Duty Pro scene switched to PC for the first time. So it used to always be on console, and this is the first year that they have it on PC, and that's to include the challengers, the amateur bracket, and the actual pro scene, along with search and destroy tournaments. So these sites, right? So search and destroy and all that kind of stuff is usually where like people start out in their COD career, if you want to call it that. and kind of really get their name out there. And all of that is switched to PC. Um, and it's causing a very big issue for, hackers. In almost every tournament, there's at least one team that's hacking. So that's been quite the issue from the competitive standpoint. But for the general population, I'm sure they love it when you're talking about Cold War, Warzone, the integration of the two games between Cold War into Warzone. I think it's a good idea once it's balanced. I like their theory behind it, but there's still like a lot that needs to happen, which kind of brings me to the point where I think that's where it's been lacking. Was all of Modern Warfare was not getting the proper updates that they needed, and I hope that they change that. They know what the people want, and they somehow manage to break the game every update and do something completely opposite of what the people want. So we'll see. But I think Cold War as a whole has a lot of potential.
I always see on the Call of Duty subreddits, no matter what happens, no matter what the update is, someone's gonna complain. I mean, that's just how it is. You're always going to get people who are upset with how it is. But
yeah,
recently League play was introduced, and a lot of people complained that they should have made it like Black Ops 2. Is that?
Absolutely. So I actually had a tweet about it the other day. League play isn't ranked play. The people want ranked play. There's no way to like see. You can't even see your stats. They took it out. Literally, the first patch after League play came out, they removed like kill death ratio, win loss ratio specifically for League play. I was like, what's the point? What's the point of this? Like, this isn't ranked play. Like, you literally cannot see how good you are in the world of all these people playing. So they have the competitive like rule sets and all that kind of stuff, and it's still kind of buggy, like it's always going to be in the beginning until they fix some stuff. But it's literally just it's not competitive in that standpoint. So yeah, it's an elo system right now, and people want true ranked. So.
Well, I know even if it is not true ranked, you're at the top of that. Am I right? You're a master in League play.
So I'm in the Masters division for that, but it's so broken the way that works and everything. I don't think people really know how it actually works, because there's people that lost all 5 of their their matches, their placement matches, and somehow were Masters. So I have no clue how it actually works or the science behind it. But yes, I am at the top of that. If you want to go with it.
Are you one of those people who lost and somehow accidentally got into Masters? Are you coming clean about that now?
I actually had really good placement matches. I've played against some Randy bots. So
some average Andes.
Yeah, so it was my placement matches were actually pretty good.
Is there
a rough night last night though?
Is there any way to go from there if you're in the top bracket? Like, what do you do?
So that's why, like, when I say like League play is different than ranked as well, like there's really like there's a limit, there's a cap on like I guess you could say your accolades for that, because like once you're a Masters, like there's nothing higher than Masters. You literally just like every 3 days there starts a new what do they call it? Not a season, but like a ladder, I guess you could say. And it pairs you with like 50 people in that ladder. And you pretty much it's rewarded for whoever plays the most. You still got to win some games, but whoever really plays the most and grinds it out is going to be at the top of that ladder by the 3-day mark at the end of it. And what that does is allows you to get gems, which pretty much gives you like either like silver, bronze, or gold and stuff like that around your Masters division emblem, pretty much. And if you win it, then you get like flames around it and stuff like that. So it's literally just like it's not even a true accolade.
Just some nice cosmetics.
Yeah, cosmetics, exactly.
So would you attribute any of the success that you have, I'm getting this from the studio audience right now, that you were carried by that man Grizz?
Grizz has actually impressed me a lot lately. I mean, I always knew like he was decent and stuff like that. I've never really seen him play like Search like competitively and stuff like that. But he's actually one of my giveaway winners for a Scuff controller. But we've been playing in League play recently, and the dude's good. So he's been doing his thing. Grizz has been doing his thing for sure.
Do you run across any pros while you're in League play?
Yeah, actually, I I remember who it was. I've only ran across one. We actually yesterday I ran across like the top amateur people. I mean they're not in the actual league, but they are the top AM team by far. Like I don't know if you've ever heard of like Zaptius, um, and all those kind of people. But Zaptius and them are nasty. Like they beat pros in scrims and stuff like that. I used to play them in search and destroy tournaments all the time. They are very, very good. So I ran across them yesterday, but not too many pros yet. But it's all when you get on and when they get on. So
Well, maybe if you get like a little more flame around your gem,
yeah,
they'll put you in the
World War
lobby.
II, I played World War II. I played them all the time. Um, but yeah, not much in this game.
Okay, well, since there isn't much for you to ascend to when it comes to league play, you probably go to wagers and I guess game battles, right? Do you do that instead?
Say again. Sorry.
Since there's not much progression from getting to the top of league play, you do kind of like private matches and tournaments and all that instead?
Yeah. So I mean, the biggest thing, like what I've done my whole, I guess, my startup from where I started in competitive to now. I mean, the big thing was it starts with GB game battles, and that's really just free XP, and that's the real like ranking system. I mean, you can play hardpoint and stuff like that on that website, but the biggest thing that people play is search and destroy. Um, with the rule sets the same as the pros and stuff play for the most part. And that has a true ranking system to where you're trying to be, you're trying to get either your team first on the ladder for that season, or your individual personal rank. You're trying to get that, first on that website. And there's over 500,000 people on that website. And I think I'm in like the top 600 of that. But then like once you get to a certain level, some people always stick with GBs and stuff like that, but eventually you get into tournaments and you get into, a different website where you're playing for money, wagers, and chows. The goal is for me is like if I'm not competing, or competing with myself is the biggest thing, then like I don't like staying stagnant. It's just kind of how I was raised and how I live my life. So the competitive side of things is where I stay, and always trying to rank up and that kind of stuff.
Of course. And within the competitive scene, there's definitely a lot of egos. Some people who aren't happy with how they lost. I saw a Twitter video of you being accused of cheating and also DMs of you being called out as cheating. How does that make you feel when that happens?
Fucking fantastic. It feels great. I mean, when it's a good feeling when it's like, I guess you could say like people that don't really have a name in the scene and stuff like that think you're cheating, like when you're beating them that bad. But I played a $100 each chow 2v2 versus a guy named Fatty McFatfa, and who was his teammate? And Neptons, I forget his teammate. But actually, yeah, it was Neptune, who's a pro, and I was playing with Equip, and we beat them, and yeah, they accused me of hacking. When those kind of people accuse you that have 400, 500 viewers in their Twitch stream, that kind of sucks because like, the people that are behind them are going to come and slander you and stuff like that with zero proof. You know what I mean? So I always just tell them, I'm like, hey man, the video will be up on YouTube. You guys can watch from my perspective. I have nothing to hide. Go watch it.
Yeah, if you're gonna get called out by Neptune, it doesn't really matter. He uses auto attack sprint, so he's a cheater too. So
yeah, that guy was good. Yeah, he was nasty. But so yeah, so it feels good sometimes, but sometimes like it kind of sucks, and you feel like you kind of got to clear your name. But then you run into the risk and be like, oh, well, he's just trying to do all this much to be defensive and stuff like that. So he's got to be, when that's not the case at all. It just, when you have 500 people that are behind somebody that want to try to accuse you, it's not good. That can really slander your reputation in this scene.
Get over, like, do they come to your stream and accuse you?
No, not in that situation. None of their supporters really did. Surprisingly, more on Twitter, not really my stream, but I have definitely seen it in other people's streams and stuff like that. So and that's just never. I mean, the COD scene has some wild people in it to begin with. So
and when
you never know what you're gonna find.
When you clear yourself, does it ever feel like a clapback moment, or is it more just like you get to breathe a sigh of relief, like don't have to worry about this anymore, and like people like hounding me over this?
I never take it that deep because I mean, for one, I know I'm not cheating, and for two, like it's really it's not that serious most of the times. Like that was a big, obviously, it was $100 each, but like these 5 cred tournaments and stuff like that, to where it's a $20, $30 prize claim, like that stuff doesn't matter to me. The money is not the important side for me. So no, it's never really a clapback for me. It's more just, hey, if you think I'm hacking and stuff, feel free to come watch my VOD, come watch me live, and make your own opinion based off that. Do all your research before accusing somebody. Don't go off somebody else's word. That's kind of where I'd go with that.
Yeah, definitely better to form your own opinion, but I mean, there
Absolutely.
are for sure some folk out there who like to be mean for no reason. And well, that's good that it doesn't really bother you too much. If someone was accusing me of like any ridiculous stuff at all, I would be like, I'd start getting either mad or upset. I'm like, why would someone want to say this about me, or why the fuck would someone say this about me?
I think, yeah, I did get mad one time. So there was an instance. I don't know if you saw it or not. Me and a guy that I play with named Jay Purdue. One guy he had enough time in his day to make a whole Google Doc, a whole Google Drive of like clips and stuff like that.
Oh man.
And not one of them were suspect at all. And it was the greatest thing. And like one of the guys he had on that Google Drive, like making a video and stuff, was a friend of mine. Um, and who had like not like a super close friend, but we play each other all the time in tournaments, and we played together towards the end of Modern Warfare a good amount. And we've always been real chill. Um, we had beat him in a tournament, and he had gotten pissed and made a whole clip about how my gun shoots different. It's like, if he's not hacking, at minimum he's got a Cronus or this and that. And I'm like, bro, this guy is reaching. But me and him, dealt with it in DMs and stuff like that, and got that squashed real quick. So he was just mad that we had beat him that night. But
I
that one
mean,
kind of sucked.
if I lost and I was gonna take out some time to make a video trying to call you out,
It needs to be a good vid.
you lost full. You didn't just
Yeah.
lose the tournament. You lost.
Yeah.
You lost full. So you're not a cheater, but would you ever consider yourself to be toxic when you're playing?
On average, no, but I've definitely had my moments. I mean, I feed off that kind of energy. Um, if you ever go back and look at there's a TikTok clip. I think my first TikTok post is me versus a guy named Cody Clumsy, who me and him are super chill now, but he gets real upset if you beat him. And we had a rival in the end of MW, and there's some clips where I got pretty toxic, definitely. Where I would make a crazy play or something like that, and I'd be screaming for sure. Um, and then 30 seconds later, I'm like, no way, I'm out here getting this hype over a video game. I just have to real humble myself again, real quick. But
Just take
yeah,
take a lap
I
around the
wouldn't
apartment.
say, yeah, I wouldn't say like most of the stuff I do, if it's toxic, it's in game,
Mhm.
in the competitive atmosphere. I've definitely had a couple bad moments where I've maybe said some stuff I shouldn't have said, either to some people on Twitter or stuff like that. But overall, no, I would not consider myself that.
Okay. Yeah, no, I've checked out your TikToks as well. So I've seen some body shooting, but I mean,
Oh
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
who
Definitely gotta
cares
shoot
about that?
and that's a funny point, because I say that all the time. I'm like, who is the person that started this trend of shooting my virtual body is going to get me internally upset? It's going to get me deeply offended.
If
I've never understood it. Yeah, that never bothers me.
if
Someone
someone
shooting
teabagged me, I'd be more upset than them shooting my bodies.
yeah, they TB me. That's it. We're done at that point.
So, I saw one person call you out as a MWGB star. What is this, and are you?
An MWGB star. Okay, so I'll explain it from my perspective and their perspective. So a MWGB star pretty much means like so when I was talking about earlier how people start in the Game Battles website and they play for free XP, they're not really playing for anything, and then they start going to tournaments. Um, those are usually what we call the GB kids or the GB XP kids, and they were trying to accuse me of that, even though I've been beating them multiple times in these tournaments. And I had played tournaments before, and so Modern Warfare, I started out and only playing wagers. I really didn't play GBs for the first like 4 or 5 months, and then I really just wanted to focus on my stream. Like, dollar wagers is not good for your stream. It's not. You're not really going to grow that way. So playing for more money or for more stakes and stuff like that is more content. Or the flip side of that is to play GBXPs, which me and Brad Rice Plays did, and you can involve a lot more of the community because it really doesn't mean that much to us. Obviously, we're not going to want to lose. We're competitive, but we're not playing for money, so we can bring our community in and stuff like that. We can teach them. They can learn from us. They can learn what it's like to play with different people and hear different communication. And you're at that point.
Yo, Sumi, thank you for the huge raid. Appreciate that.
And your family. So that's what we did for like 2 to 3 months, me and Brad, and then we got back into tournaments at the end. So really what they saw was, oh, this kid just plays GBs and now he's winning these tournaments. Like, what the heck? Like, this XP kid, who is this guy? And when it looked like I had an ego and stuff like that, they were like, who the hell is this guy, etc. But that's kind of what it means to be a GB kid. But I wouldn't consider myself that anymore. But of course I was at one point. Everybody kind of has their place where they start. So that's where I started. Never forget the roots.
Definitely not. So I actually want to talk a little bit more about wagers. So you put money down and it's just a match. Can you tell me what this is all about? Like, how does this work?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's done on Checkmate Gaming is going to be the main one now. It used to be UMG. That website's kind of done for. So Checkmate Gaming, and you can play for free, just like Game Battles, or you can do wagers. Wagers and challenges are done in the same spot. So like, you create a 2v2 team, a doubles team, and you're on the cash match ladder. And you literally just post a match on that ladder for however much you want to play for. Usually you're going to see $1 to $5 is what's going to be posted. And then if you find somebody that wants to play you for more than that, then that's when you call it kind of a chow, because they're like targeting you for, hey, we want to play you specifically. It's not like anybody can go grab that match off the finder. So that's really kind of the only difference, but it's done on Checkmate Gaming.
So how much do you usually put up for a chow?
I think the most I play for is that $100 each. Done 2 of those now. I would love to play for more than that, versus the right people and with the right people. But I'd say usually it's around, if it's people that aren't too known, it's usually between 5 to 15. Once it's a little bit more known chow and stuff like that, it can be anywhere from 20 to 40, I'd say, is the average range. I think I did multiple. There's some funny videos on my Twitter from when we chowed this guy named Maul in Modern Warfare, and we chowed him for 30 and then 30, and then I was eating good. I made a,
so
yeah.
You must be referencing then. Hold on, let me pull it up because I actually had it ready.
Yeah. That video's funny.
So this is the video in question, folks. I'd like to play it just so everyone can check this out.
You know what makes McDonald's taste even better? When that shit is free. And I appreciate you all. Thanks, bub.
That is hilarious. I love that.
So, and he was this we called him the CMG kid, right? Because there's this rivalry between like people on GB and then CMG, and he's won over 100 tournaments easily. But I truly felt better than him in all aspects, and we played him twice in these chows, and we beat him twice. I was up $60 on him. So I made that video, and he was pretty toxic. Like, we would go back and forth, talking crap. And so I made that video, and people were just dying. I was going to do a second rendition when we beat him the second time for 30. And I was going to go do a sushi boat and have him bring out like 60 with candles on it, like a birthday. I was going to go all out. I wound up not doing it, but I'm mad that I didn't. I'm still mad that I didn't. I
Oh
don't even
my
know all
god.
that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up because I really wanted to pull that video out. I thought that was hilarious when I was going down your Twitter feed. I was like, oh my god, did he really just post that?
Yeah, people were roasting me for the Android. I'm not gonna...
The Android quality. Yo, buy an iPhone with that child money. Come on.
I bought an S21.
Okay. So, what would you say is like your net gain from wagers? Like, how much have you gotten total?
From just specifically playing, from wagers and like or tournaments combined.
If you could make that split between those two, sure, but
Split
like
between the two, wagers is gonna be really hard. I would probably say, based off win percentage, it'd be anywhere from 700 to 1,000 just wagers.
oh damn.
Yeah, but I'd have to look at like there's a couple things I would look at because the website just shows like earnings. It doesn't show like profit margin and stuff like that. So I'd have to base it off like, well, I guess I could go look at my withdrawals, but I haven't seen that forever. So I'd have to go look at that. But
So when
yeah.
someone actually says earnings check as trash talk, you could pull that up.
yeah. I mean, even then, like, I mean, it's mine is not. I wouldn't consider mine good. It's not bad. Obviously, it's. I've put more. I've put less into wagers than I've. So I've earned more than what I've put in for wagers and say, but tournaments, probably is the other way around. I'd say, definitely not happy or where I want to be as far as that kind of goes, as far as income of the gaming. But like I said, that's not where I kind of look at it for me. It's more of my stream for me. That's my focus for sure.
What's the? Sorry, were you gonna say something?
No, you're good. You're good.
What's the biggest loss streak or like loss amount that you've lost in a single session for wagers, or just in your mind? Like, what was the biggest L in wagers that you've taken?
The biggest L was probably it's like a $40 chow, I'd say.
It's not that bad.
No, it's not bad. Yeah, not at all. Yeah, it's probably the most I've gone down at like a single time, I'd say. So not bad at all on that.
Have you ever done an impulse buy off of winning a wager? You're like, oh, I'm just gonna buy something right now just because I can.
Yeah, actually. But it was a gift. It wasn't even for me. I did an impulse buy for a stream deck for somebody. Actually,
That's so nice.
Yeah, on their while they're streaming, I give to somebody a stream deck. That's what they wanted, and yeah. So.
Wow, you're not toxic at all, man. You could.
I've never done it. Yeah, impulse buy. I guess the McDonald's thing. I don't know. I literally ended stream, went straight to McDonald's and got that in the video. Like there was no hesitation.
Were you planning to do that, or did you just finish it and think, oh, this would kill
Instantly.
him?
Instantly was planned. Premeditated.
Oh no. That's hilarious, man. Oh my god. So I know you're in you're J4L Graham.
Yeah,
You're in Just for Looks. What is your relationship with this org?
So I'm there as a content creator or streamer for them, and they've been what I wanted. So I'm real weird when it comes to organizations. Organizations in general in the esports is a weird topic. Not necessarily a weird topic, but a weird place because there's so many of these organizations out there. These, I created a Twitter, I got an org. You know what I mean? So there's so many of those out there, and a lot of streamers feel like I gotta join an org when they're smaller and stuff like that because that's more exposure, etc. And I've always been kind of against that. Like you need to set yourself like a limit. Like this is the, one, do I mess with the people in there or the people that are within this org like a family? Because that's the environment that I like. what are they going to do for you just as much as what you're going to do for them? And where do you see yourself going with them? Are a couple of the things I always say you got to ask yourself. So when it came down to J4L, the people within this organization are just amazing, amazing individuals. A lot of the people I already had played with or played against. They had some big names in there as well, and they started not just inviting everybody. They actually made it a lot more strict of who got in, which I think you need when it's especially a legit org and you're trying to be legit. And they have direction, and that's kind of the big thing that I was going to look for. Do we support each other? Is it a family? And do they have a direction? And can I help them with that direction? And can they help me? And J4L was that spot I wanted to be in at that moment. So.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't sure what your kind of position in J4L was. I was thinking, like, would you ever compete with J4L if they decided to start up a team?
I would love to. So, but at the same time, with me being active duty military, it's just not possible. I get that question a lot and stuff like that. Why don't you compete? Are you going to consider competing? Stuff like that. Are you going to do variant? I would love to. That's always the answer. Even people ask about the Army Esports team, which I can kind of get into at a different time. But I just don't have that enough time each day to put in those kind of hours that I would, consider what is required to be put in to make that commitment. And my schedule, I don't know if I'll be, working nights this week, days the next week, going to the field training the following week. I just never know. So it's just not a possible thing for me at the moment.
So I guess after your enlistment is over, would you ever consider, I guess, competing in challengers events and have aspirations to go to the highest?
I mean, if I feel like if my name's big enough, because it really is there's a big social aspect to it. And if I think I was actually that good at that game that I was trying to do that at, and I had that kind of time, I don't see why not. I mean, it can only help me. It can't hurt me. And it's just one more thing to add, I guess you could say, or to say I tried. But usually when I do stuff like that, I kind of put my all into it. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely an option, but we'll see. I'm about to re-enlist this year, so for 2 more years. So we'll see where it goes.
Okay, well then this is definitely going to be a hypothetical. If you got to the top, the CDL, what team would you want to be on?
Optic for sure. I'm a huge Hex fan. I mean, they started, they pioneered the direction for Call of Duty content creation within Call of Duty. I feel like there's so much I can learn from them, not just within Call of Duty. From a business aspect, from a content aspect, there's so much within that. So it'd either be them or 100 Thieves for sure.
Who would you replace on Optic? Whose spot would you grab?
Ooh. I used to be, Dashy's come up in Black Ops 4 was insane, but I just feel like he hasn't been performing at that same level. Obviously last year, but his situation was kind of crappy for him. But this year, he's still not. He's definitely doing very well, but I'd probably say Dashy.
Okay, yeah.
And I love the guy. Envoy's nasty. But I mean, Scump and Formal, if they retire, obviously take that spot. But I would love to play alongside Dashy if that was ever possible. I'll take his spot.
Okay, well now we know for the future, Hex, if you ever see the VOD, and his Epudemic _. So you mentioned enlisting for another 2 years, and also you brought up Army Esports before. What do you think of the Army Esports squad? What do you think about Army venturing into the esports realm?
I'm not against it at all, but I think at the same time, I mean, they're trying to stick with, you know, what is today, you know, and esports is definitely on that rise, on that come up, but the way they are going about it is not well. I think it's managed very poorly. I can kind of give you a story on that. We in Modern Warfare, they convinced me to go to the tryout and stuff. Like these people, like if their names were pretty relevant, like I would know them. I've been around the competitive scene for a while now. Regardless if they were only playing, you know, variant or like respawn game modes, or if they were playing search and destroy. If they're playing search, I would know them. But a lot of these people that they have are just, one, just really not that good, and two, like it's a friend thing. It's a who you know. So the story behind that is, you know, I got convinced to finally try out in Modern Warfare, which was one of my best Call of Duties, and I go to this tryout or whatever, played with some people I didn't really know or whatever, but they were decent, they were good. Um, it was 5v5, and the guy who did the worst, you played 3 maps. We played the best team, like the old Army Esports, the last year's team, played their team first. We played 3 game modes. We lost in both respawns and we won the search. The same guy did the worst, like very, very bad, like significantly bad on each game mode. So all 3 maps was at the bottom of the list. He was the only guy from our team that got picked. And I was like, okay, so it's a who you know. And he had knew all these people, was real close friends with them and stuff like that. I was like, okay, so that's obviously why these guys are going to continuously never make a placing. You know, like they're not going to compete.
Bunch
so
average Army Andes.
yeah, pretty much. So I think it would have been cool, like experience, obviously, to do, and you know, to not have to do my normal job for a little bit, and literally my job in the military would be playing some games for a few months. Obviously, it would be an awesome experience. But when I do stuff like that, like I'm not going to just do it. You know, I'm going to put my all into that and try to make something from it. And I just don't see that direction with them. So hopefully they can change it and pull that around. But I think it's a good idea. But they're going to need the right leadership in the right direction.
They're gonna need you. This is what I'm hearing.
I don't know about that far.
Okay, so being on the team, would it take some time away from your regular job? But what is your regular job in the Army?
So I'm by trade, I'm technically an Apache attack helicopter mechanic or maintainer. My current position is a technical inspector. So I'm kind of like so everything that, you know, these people touch on the aircraft, you know, it has to be documented and stuff like that, or looked at by an inspector. I'm the person they come to pretty much bless off the aircraft that it's safe to fly, and teach them when I have the time, you know, because I have to manage. You have 24 helicopters in your fleet. I'm in charge of, you know, all of those, maintaining all the safety records, all those like historical files, like all the paperwork side of things that's tracked on the helicopter, because it's very specific and very strict for regulations and stuff like that. And in charge of, you know, inspecting all of their maintenance and really knowing about that stuff. And if I don't know something, knowing how to find the answer. So it's a lot of responsibility, but I love it. It's been a blessing for me. I enjoy teaching people, and I really get that opportunity to do that in that position. So,
have you been working this job? I know you recently just got this inspector position, but have you been working around the helicopters the entire time you've been in the
yeah. So
Army?
since I was 19, I've been doing this.
How old are you now? Oh, okay, yeah, there you go.
About to be 26. Yeah, so a good little bit, and I've been an inspector now for 3 years. So it's been great. Yeah, I love it. So it's been a journey for sure.
Okay, well, I want to ask why you joined the Army, but before I do that, I want to play a TikTok where there's a guy who looks just like you, who explains why he's in the Army. I want to know what you think about this. So I'm gonna share the screen. I'm gonna see what you're thinking.
I feel like I've seen this dude on TikTok. Oh,
hold on. I'm sharing the screen. Okay.
People asking why they joined the Army.
The guy in the middle.
Camaros. Why'd you join the army?
This guy right here. Oh my god, why is it so poorly zoomed in? There we go. This guy right here. Is that not you?
It's not me.
Well, his response
I
was
hate myself.
because he hates himself. So is that?
No, I wouldn't say that's
Okay,
all
okay.
me. There's definitely positions within the military that if I went that route, I would definitely hate myself.
Okay.
I would kick myself in the ass if I made that decision.
What
But
what is one of those? I don't want you to out
like-
anyone who's in that right now.
I mean, obviously, there's what we call
Hi, Bobby.
grunts and what we call pogues. Pogues being like more like support and people that really don't do a lot of the fighting or anything like that. So grunts being like your infantry, your artillery, people that are really directly into the fight, which I respect more than anything. And I really wanted to do that as well, but at the same time, I thought about it as trying to be smart, and in the long run, it's like what is being infantry going to do for me after I get out? Because most of their contracts are 3 years for infantry when they go in. Aviation is 6 years because of the school difference and stuff like that they do to train you. So I'm like, 3 years of infantry, what does that actually teach me to go into if I get out of the military after that 3 years? What do I have at that point, and what job can I get? Because once you're out, you're on your own. You know what I mean? You gotta figure that out. So I went into it with the mindset of let me actually learn a trade that is going to transfer over to something big outside of the military, and aviation obviously is huge. But yeah, so I would think, to answer that question, yeah, infantry, stuff like that is just it's crazy hard on your body. For what reason? The stuff they make you do, and there's this big problem within the military. It's not necessarily the military, the army as a whole right now, with shifting our PT test into what's called the ACFT, which makes you more of a what they consider an army athlete, right? Being more athletic. So our physical tests are going to be like involving deadlifts, like sled pulls and stuff like that, while still doing a 2-mile run, some pull-up variations, etc. So it's a lot more physically demanding. They're spending all this time and this money into this research for this stuff, but they're not putting that kind of time and money into our recovery side of that, right? Because with becoming more physical and more demanding and more athletic, if you don't have the resources and the abilities to recover people the proper way, then you're putting yourself in a real hole to make good soldiers. So yeah, that's kind of my view on that.
So are people getting hurt?
Yeah, absolutely. You got people that have joined the military, have maybe never played a sport, or never worked out or lifted in their life. They just did the army stuff, the calisthenics, the push-ups, the sit-ups, and they ran a little bit, and they called that, yeah, I'm in shape. You know what I mean? Which you can be in shape from that, but you're working and you're using different muscles when you're involving deadlifts and stuff like that. You're involving technique, form, muscles that you've never used before. You make one wrong move with a weight that's wrong for you, like you're going to be injured. So with not the proper training and not the proper recovery for people, I think that's an issue. So yeah, there's a lot of people, one, that have been hurt or that's going to get hurt, in my opinion.
And in your position working with the helicopters, are you put through this a lot?
So this new test is, I'm put pretty physical, like my job's pretty physically demanding at times, whether it's lifting a lot of awkwardly heavy equipment, etc. It's usually a lot to do with like equipment, climbing up on the helicopter, literally on your feet majority of the day. It's pretty laborious, plus staying healthy, like the PT, the gym, and all that kind of stuff with that. And usually aviation is really in a big time crunch, so you're really not getting usually the right nutrition and stuff as well, not eating the amount of calories you should be. So I think it really breeds an unhealthy atmosphere when you look at it from an outside perspective. The sleep schedule, the schedules, how it changes from day to nights on sometimes weekly basis or monthly basis. A lot of stuff that's really not good for your body. to do for a long period of time. So yeah, aviation deals with it quite a lot from that aspect. Not necessarily physically demanding as infantry and stuff like that, but a lot more schedule changes, sleep changes, nutrition, stuff like that. You can't be as consistent with.
Yeah, I see that you have I believe that's a rain when it's by you it's 7:30.
Yeah.
It's pretty late, man.
I'm actually so I've been working nights this whole month, so I'm on like a night schedule right now. But yeah, I don't get really affected by caffeine that much. I can still go to sleep off caffeine and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I hear you, man. I had a cycle where I would take pre-workout in the morning, like 300 milligrams caffeine, and then when I would stream, I would drink a monster before that. And I'm a guy who works out purely for aesthetics. I don't do cardio for shit. If like honestly, the way that I work out, if someone wanted to fight me, they'd win no shot. But I would just like look good while surrendering.
Hey, as long as you look good, right? As long as you go down looking good.
That's my thing. But I started getting like really messed up with all the caffeine and then just like lack of sleep.
Yeah, then caffeine cravings and stuff like that. The headaches that go kind of along with it. Yeah, it's unhealthy. It's an unhealthy journey for sure. I try to. I mean, I do a decent amount of caffeine, but I also like will maybe like every couple days, I'll drink caffeine and then I won't drink it for like 3 days or something like that. So I kind of just try to offset so I don't get in that habit. But it's hard. Sometimes you just feel like I need something.
I need my fix.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I haven't taken a break in a while. Anyway, so like you said that you're looking to see what you could do beyond the military once you get out. What are you thinking about? What are you thinking about?
Yeah, so right now, that's kind of why my streams have been inconsistent lately too, because my plan was to get out at the end of this year. I would have been out a couple months before December. And like it was all coming really fast, and all the research I was doing, I mean, the job markets even within aviation is still just not great. And calculating in, this is where a lot of people mess up when getting out of the military, is really not calculating how much they really make. And by that I mean, like I'm single, right? So I live in the, as far as like not being married and stuff like that, so I live in the barracks. um okay, well, that's paid for, and I get a food allowance that's 360 extra a month specifically just for food. If I were to not be in the barracks and living in Colorado Springs, right, you would get a basic housing allowance where they give you, from my rank or whatever, it'd be like $1,500 extra a month for that, right? And a lot of people don't calculate that kind of stuff in when they're looking to get out. And it's a lot to think about. You know what I mean? You might be making 38,000 a year just based off your rank, but truly with the benefits, you're making close to 45 to 50. So with that, I need to consider, okay, well, I need to get out making at least 50 to 60,000 after taxes a year to maintain, the way I currently live my life, how I spend money, etc. What your debt is. There's so much that goes into play for that kind of stuff, and a lot of people fail in that aspect. So I was currently like, okay, well, I don't think this is the right decision. I'm going to reenlist for 2 years, focus on getting the right certifications, and making a smart decision about this. So I'm currently working on getting my A&P license, which, for those who don't know, is your airframe and power plant license, and that allows you to work on any FAA regulated aircraft. Um, it's the license that you are required to have to work on these aircraft. So I could go work for Delta, United, all these airlines and stuff, and work on their planes, and go work at Denver International, stuff like that. And yeah, so once I have that license, I'm kind of set. Um, but it's hard to get, very hard to get. So that's kind of what I'm working on now, doing a bunch of the tests and those kind of things.
Okay, so we have your plan for the future, loose plan for the future here. Yeah. But I want to talk about what you've already done. I know you've gone to different countries. You mentioned that you've done live stream IRL streams in different countries. You've been to Afghanistan, I believe South Korea.
Yep.
What is it like to be stationed in these different places?
Best time of my life. I would say when people ask me, about Korea or Afghanistan and stuff like that, I always say, living in South Korea was the best experience of my life. Living in Afghanistan and experiencing that deployment was the most humbling experience in my life. It really, especially, you know, a boy from South Alabama, it really just gives you a different outlook on life, and it just changes you in a way that's indescribable if you allow it to. If you go out, you know, and venture. So many people just stay on the base and don't do anything for the year or 2 years that they're there. Korea was insane. It is a party. Korea is a party over there. We worked hard. I worked crazy hours, but when we were off, it was wild. The Koreans know how to drink.
Yeah.
I'll say that. Yeah, they can eat and they can drink.
Do you have any crazy stories?
Yeah, I got a lot actually. So I streamed a Tinder date one time.
What?
Yeah, that was a good time. That was a real good time. And then she couldn't really speak English well, which made it even funnier. I had some other friends that I met one time. We went out. It was one of their birthdays. I was the only foreigner there. Only one of them spoke like fluent English. The others could kind of get by, and the main person that was my friend really couldn't get by at all. We'd always talk to a translator or my phone and translate. But I go out with them. They take me out. It was one of their birthdays, but they take me out. And we go to like this steakhouse in, you know, like Gangnam, like Gangnam style and all that.
Thank you for that.
It's a real like rich area of Korea, or perceived rich as well. And
ladies and gentlemen, please silence all devices in the audience. Unless it's serious, then it's okay.
Yeah, sorry, I think I kind of gotta move location. But 1 second, I apologize.
Did a tour in Afghanistan, Korea, and now a tour of the apartment.
I know. So, all right. So, what were we saying about? As far as
you were in Gangnam Style.
Yeah. So you go to this so there's like steakhouse or whatever in Gangnam, and they purchased my food and everything. There was nothing cheap on the menu, so I didn't even have the option out of like respect, and I was fully intention to pay for myself. So I get what I would like normally order and all that. We're getting drinks, stuff like that. Next thing I know, like the bill doesn't even come; it's just paid for. I'm like, okay, it's a little weird. It's not like I can talk to all these people because I don't speak Korean, and so they pay for my food. Then we go to this karaoke place, which is a very, you know, popular thing to do there. And karaoke's are like the studios instead of like on a stage. So you get your own private studio. We walk in, and this place is fancy. And I'm like, I've never seen no Korean karaoke place like fancy like this. So we go in, they take us to our private studio, and it's in like a back alley. We walk in, we got bottle service, we got food service coming. We have like hype people that work there, like starting the karaoke. I'm like, what is this? Like, what is going on? So apparently, it's some famous place that they go to. Well, an hour in or whatever, people knock on the door and they come and get us, and then we go. Like they have told me nothing at this point, and they take us in to the separate room, and it's with everybody that's at that business at that time, right? So everyone in their own private studios that we've never seen before, all go into one room, and it's a show. But it was a training show, like almost like the like the shows, like the drag shows in Vegas.
Yep.
So similar to that, and I'm like, what is going on? And it was like the famous like first real transgender person in Korea was there performing and stuff like that, and it was a whole show. But they didn't tell me any of this. And I'm like, okay, well then I guess there's this thing where after they do their performance to where they come out into the crowd. Well, apparently if you put like money between chopsticks and you wave it at them, you're almost like telling this one to come back to the studio with you and party with you. And they were like trying to force me to do it. And I was like, I'm good. I think I'm good. And they're like, no, you have to. And I'm like, I'm good. So,
but you had to, Graham.
I know. Well, they wouldn't let me so I couldn't stream that part of it, but like the whole part in the studio and stuff like that of all the karaoke and the bottle service, food service, like all that was live and streaming.
Can we go back into the VODs? Can we?
It's not there. It is not there. I know. I actually lost like almost all my Korea footage. I didn't realize at the time, you know, I was still new to streaming and stuff, that it deletes like the VODs and stuff deleted after like 90 days as an affiliate or something like that. I was like, no, no. So I lost all that because I wanted to make like a Korea like highlight reel for like one of my first YouTube videos or like introduction to YouTube and stuff, and I could not do it. So
That's a rip. Everyone in the studio audience, please press F. I'll start. I'm pretty sure I'm the only. Oh, nice. Thank you, Graham. Thank you. Well, that's awesome. That sounds insane.
Yeah, it was a little. It's one of those things too. It's like kind of just got to be in the moment for. It was a little wild at the time, just because like I didn't really know what was going on and no one could really speak to me. So it was just I didn't know what to expect, and then that happened. I was like, okay, I'm good.
So out of the different places you've been, what country had the best gamers?
In terms of Call of Duty, definitely America, the United States for COD for sure. There's actually some really good Japanese players, um, but as a whole, that I've been to, yeah, the U.S. has the best COD players. If you're looking at Overwatch, League of Legends, I mean, there's some really good Americans in Overwatch too, but I mean, South Koreans are amazing,
Yeah.
disgusting.
So
When it comes to all that stuff, Dota, etc.
I would play a lot of Clash Royale, and if I would start playing up until like 1 a.m., then I would start seeing the Korean character names show up, and I was like, oh shit, I gotta sign off because I'm gonna lose so much elo if I keep playing tonight.
Yeah, I had the once they did like Activision IDs and it wasn't like a username and you can make it anything. I was about to make mine to like Korean letters and stuff like that on Overwatch and be like instantly they're just gonna think I'm super good. I'm gonna be the biggest bot.
Epudemic.
Well, I actually have a username, a Twitch name called Epudemic Bot where I do all my test streams and stuff like that.
That's amazing. So I've had a few friends in the military who have told me a bunch of different things that either they don't like or just kind of things that exist within the service, and I'm just gonna list some things off to you, and you tell me if they have any relevance to you. If not, just say skip, okay?
Okay.
Fire guard.
Yes, definitely relevance in basic training. Is really only we do fire guard. After that, when you get to your unit, you do things like CQ and staff duty. CQ is literally at the barracks. You're just sitting there for 24 hours, guarding the not necessarily guarding the barracks, but like if people come in to do maintenance and stuff like that, you can let them in certain areas, and you can just kind of maintain the barracks, and that changes from person to person. But like you might have it once every couple months or something. And it's a 24-hour shift.
Do they wake you up in the middle of the night?
That's fire guard, and
that's fire guard.
Yeah, it's only like basic training and school AIT.
Hands in your pockets.
I think so. This is one of the it's relevant in a sense in training and stuff like that. Like when you're a new soldier and all that, it's a thing, right? Just to kind of instill like discipline and stuff like that. But once you get to your unit, aviation, we're very more relaxed on things like hair, hands in pockets. I think it's very dumb. It's an old rule that probably was a pet peeve by some sergeant major. It's not even a real rule, I don't think. I'd have to look in the regulation. But there's some people that definitely. I have a guy that I work with, who's a couple ranks above me, who enforces it and gets annoyed by it. But I'm like, if I'm having a professional conversation with you, I'm not going to put my hands in my pockets. But if we're just here bullshitting, what does it matter if my hands are in my pockets? Like, who is a round of importance that cares? Or that's stupid. Like,
there's a general coming.
For my hand to put things in. Like, don't give me pockets if you don't want me to put my hand in it. So yeah, but it is a thing. Yeah.
Walking and drinking at the same time.
Yeah, not really enforced that much, I'd say, once you get to your unit and stuff like that. More of a discipline thing in training. Never really seen anybody get yelled at or anything within my regular army time. No. Smoking and walking, yeah. If you're like not at a smoking area and stuff like that, and you're just kind of walking around smoking, maybe, or walking on your phone and stuff like that. Like I actually still have that habit where I stop and talk on the phone when I'm in uniform. I won't walk and talk. So
And that's a discipline thing.
I guess so. Yeah, I don't know why it's a thing, but that one stuck with me for some reason. I have no clue why.
Okay, Bang Energy.
Energy drinks as a whole, I wouldn't necessarily narrow it down to Bang, but energy drinks as a whole, especially within aviation and the crazy hours, it's an unhealthy amount consumed by far. Um, yeah, I mean, I knew a girl who probably weighed 80 pounds that I was stationed with in Colorado before Korea, and she would drink three of the tallest Red Bulls. She would drink three of those a day. Um,
Oh no.
yeah, and I was like, "There's like, what is this gonna do to your body?" Um, but yeah, so energy drinks as a whole I mean, I'd say it's a problem within the military. It honestly is.
Nicotine addiction.
Yeah, yep, it's a problem. Um, not for me. I don't do any. I don't smoke or dip or chew. But yeah, a lot of people do. Um, which I mean, I guess that's everywhere, not just within the military. But there's a lot of people that do it specifically out of stress. I would say more of the drinking side, the stress drinking, um, or like not happy with their life drinking is more of an issue than the nicotine. But there's definitely a lot of people that smoke or dip and stuff like that. So
It's very hard to find cherry flavored cough drops.
I have no idea.
Does that mean okay? I've been on TikTok a lot, and apparently some guy had cherry cough drops, and you're not supposed to have that, and he got snitched on and then yelled at.
Oh, that might be because they're allowed to have their phone and crap in like basic training and stuff now. I couldn't have that back then, so they might be able to like make these videos in training or like making a skit or whatever of training because okay, that brings back memories then now. Yeah, because basic training, like you didn't really get cough drops, but if someone sent you a care package, like they would take your cherry cough drops or like your flavored ones because it's like candy. So they don't want you to have that.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So then, candy and MREs are incredibly valuable.
Yeah, in the training sense, I mean, I threw mine like away, or I would just give it to somebody. But yeah, they would trade it
Disciplined.
all the time for something. Somebody wanted the candy, they would trade it for someone's crackers or their peanut butter, or if they got peanut butter and you wanted the jalapeno cheese spread, hey, I'll give you you know my pack of Reese's Pieces for your jalapeno cheese spread. All right, sweet. It was literally like being in second grade again and trading your snack pack for the chocolate milk or something. But yeah, there's definitely relevancy behind that in the beginning, like training and stuff.
Accidental self injuries.
Accidental self injuries. Um, yeah, yeah. I guess it depends on your job field. If you have a desk job, you're probably not going to hurt yourself too much.
Ah,
But
okay.
aviation and stuff like that, yeah, we kind of have some situations and stuff like that. Whether getting fuel on you or just something getting dropped on you, getting cut or something like that. Infantry as well. Dealing with a lot of stuff in that realm of the side. Um, but yeah, I guess it holds a little weight. I
I
wouldn't say it's
was
super relevant.
I'm more referencing people just being bozos. I have one
Yeah.
friend who's I think he's in like Fort Bragg or something. He tore his ACL. The initial reason he said it was army stuff. After more I guess asking, he jumped out of a truck wearing like his full gear and landed wrong and tore his ACL.
That sounds about right. Um, he did it like he was like training or something or of some of that nature, and then was wearing his full gear and jumped out of a military vehicle.
Yeah, that was I don't think they were even doing any training. I think he was just getting out of a truck.
So I mean, if he was in an LMTV, which is like a bigger like a troop carrier, like a
Mhm.
soldier carrying kind of truck, most of the times like there's a ladder that's installed under it that you're supposed to pull out and hook up, and no one does that. You just jump out. So the right thing to do is there. We just don't do it. And so everybody jumps out, and for some of these short people, hey, that's a good little lift. And so you land wrong with all that weight on, yeah,
How
it
tall
might
are
get
you?
you.
How tall are you, Graham?
6'1".
No, don't look down on us short kings, all right? Being 5'8" is 5 great. I'll tell you that fucking much.
But yeah, I've definitely seen some people like that have some like underlying injuries and stuff like that, or land wrong and tweak their knee, their back, their ankles. Yeah, I've seen that actually.
All right, so how about being yelled at for no reason?
Absolutely, all the time. I get mad at people for doing that to people. Um, I think that's a big problem within the army is what we call toxic leadership. Like there's times to crack down on somebody and stuff like that, but as an enlisted person, a non-commissioned officer, so people that are sergeant and staff sergeant first class, those people, the people that actually deal with the soldiers directly every day and in those leadership positions, you're responsible to mold your soldiers, to be better people individually, to get to know them on the individual level, so that don't necessarily treat this guy the same as this one. You know what I mean? He might need a different leadership style than this guy might, and that's on your responsibility to know that. But a lot of them think that you're just supposed to, we got to get shit done, so go get fucking shit done without any guidance, etc. They didn't get that proper guidance. Now they fuck something up, and now you're screaming at them for fucking it up. But when they've never done this before, when it's their responsibility, that crawl, walk, run phase, to train them, make sure that they're taught. But a lot of these guys get promoted too fast, and they honestly don't know the right answer. So they just tell them to go do something and hope that they'll figure it out, and then get mad at them when they don't. And that's bullshit. So I think that is a big problem that needs to change. So
What's the dumbest thing you've been yelled at for?
that I've been personally yelled at for. There was a staff sergeant. So there was a sergeant telling a private, and I was a private at the time, to go do something that was wrong. We knew it was wrong. Whether it wasn't necessarily morally wrong, but it was a maintenance. It was a maintenance thing with a helicopter, and it was the wrong thing to do. We knew it was wrong, and I was like, we're not going to do that. This is wrong, and this is why. But he didn't want to hear it. He didn't want to listen to our side of the thing, because we're a private.
Wait. Are you going against the chain of command?
At that time, I was definitely going against the chain of command. And because it's just as much our responsibility if we're doing that task, it is to their responsibility to make sure that we're doing it right. So if you're telling us to go do something wrong, for one, you're wasting our fucking time, because and that's my biggest pet peeve, is don't waste people's time. You know what I mean? So if we're gonna go do this wrong, then we're gonna have to fix it once you figure it out, or somebody else figures it out that it's messed up. Now we've just wasted 4 hours of our time doing what? Going back and forth. So I clapped back at him. The other soldier didn't. I actually was standing up for this other guy. I was like, no, that's wrong. This is why. And then he started yelling, and then I yelled right back at him. Because at that point, if you're yelling at me, like, this isn't professional at this point. At this point, we're grown ass men, and rank doesn't matter. And so, and then the staff sergeant came and then got mad at us too, because we were yelling at a non-commissioned officer or sergeant at that time who's in a leadership position. And that guy wound up, the E5, the sergeant that was telling us to do the wrong thing, wound up leaving a year later or so. And by that time, he had already ruined his reputation by messing a lot of stuff up, stealing some stuff. Actually, got in trouble for that. And so it was just basically just a piece of shit, piece of shit
Nice.
soldier. And I still work with that staff sergeant to this day. He actually has to come get me a lot, because even though I'm a lower rank, like as an inspector, I'm in a different position than him. So, and we're really close, me and that guy. And he's like, man, we'll bring up that story all the time. He's like, that guy really was a piece of crap. I was like, yeah, you should have listened to me before yelling at me for getting on him. You should have just let me fight him. But yeah, so it's an ongoing thing. There's a lot of situations like that, and it needs to change.
Making your bed? How about that? Yeah, that.
Sorry. Um, in training, or when you're gonna have like an inspection, like they don't once you're at your regular unit and stuff like that, like you occupy a barracks room if you're single, and you don't obviously own that room, so they'll come in and do random inspections, which are the most annoying thing. I hate. I'm a grown ass man. I know I live in these barracks, but come on, do you really got to come check up on me? But there's a reason why. I mean, people be hiding guns in there. You really never know. It's a way of just making sure that your young soldiers are living correctly, not living like a slob, stuff like that. I don't personally. It's a bad habit of mine. I don't necessarily make my bed every day, and I should because I love sleeping in a nice made bed. But if I know an inspection's coming up or something like that, yeah, I'll make it. But it's never like I'll still like I'll make it neat and presentable, but it's not a tight made bed.
Graham,
But
if you're slacking on the beds, Graham, how can we know you're not slacking on the Apaches?
I know. Mama Nugget here, the person's place I'm at right now, she gets mad at me because I don't make the bed. But so yeah, that's it's a bad thing for me. I need to change.
Okay, so how about Dodge Chargers, potentially a Dodge Challenger, any form of Dodge vehicle? Does that have any relevancy to you as a man in the military?
Me, no. Military, yeah. I loved. I'm not necessarily I mean, I like the Challengers and stuff like that too, but I would get a Dodge, actually, like a Dodge Ram, if it were up to me. But yes, the problem where that is perceived is these people that get into the military, right? They get their first paycheck and stuff like that. Just got out of the house. I'm gonna go buy a car. You're gonna go buy a $30,000 to $40,000 car on your private paycheck. Like all your money in that paycheck is going to that car. And that's kind of the big thing is right because it's other like when you're a sergeant and stuff. It's a lot about teaching these guys real just life lessons. You're almost a glorified babysitter at the same time as being a leader. You're not just teaching these guys the job, you're really teaching them a lot about life. Like, hey, it's probably not smart to go buy a $40,000 car when you just got your first paycheck and you have nothing in the bank. Probably not smart, but it's very common that people go buy specifically Challengers, Chargers, Mustangs, these $30,000 to $40,000 muscle cars all souped up. I didn't do that. I'm guilty of that recently, but obviously I make more now. I actually just bought last year a Chevy Colorado ZR2, which is an expensive truck that I should have never bought. So I'm guilty of it also. But yes, it is definitely relevant.
What about do you have any tattoos?
I do. Pretty much my whole back is tattooed.
I'm not gonna ask you to show me, but like, can you describe it so I can picture it visually without TOS?
Yeah. I mean, I have a.
Do you have a helicopter?
I don't. I don't have a traditional military tattoo. I actually have a Samoan tribal on each end of my back, like on each side of my back, and it kind of comes up to almost look like a stingray in a way of my back. And each thing in it has its own meaning. And I got it done by a close friend of mine who's actually a chief from one of the Samoan islands, for one of the not Samoan islands, one of the villages in Samoa. So he's a close friend of mine and done pretty much all of my work. And then the middle of my back is is written in pretty much Pashto dialect, which is like a Middle Eastern language, but a specific dialect. And it stands for like never settle for what you are, always strive for greatness. And in the middle is like these symbols that have its own specific meaning. And my Samoan tribal tattoo kind of encloses that on each side. It's kind of weird to picture, but it's a big piece.
Okay, you're gonna have to send me a pic afterwards.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, it's a lot. Sorry. I have a tramp stamp though, actually, which is always a funny topic.
Okay, how did you get that?
So, it's actually a part of the back piece, but it's one of the symbols that goes down there. When the needle, I couldn't tell it was that low when I looked in the mirror and like the stencil kind of was placed. I was like, okay. The needle touch is like, man, that's really low. And So that symbol is on down there, even though it's a piece of the whole back piece. But if my shirt barely comes up, it looks like a tramp stamp, and it's rough, and it's an ongoing joke. So I'm gonna have to get like the rest of the bottom of my back done or something to help
Or
this
just
out.
always tuck in your shirt, I guess.
I know. So people flame me all the time for that. So it's just an ongoing joke at this point. Um, I remember my ex that I was with for like 3 years. They were Colombian, and I was helping. We did a trip down to Crested Butte, Colorado for skiing and snowboarding, and I was helping her parents, grab stuff out of the car, take it into the cabin, and everything. And that was the first time they had seen it. So I bent down to grab something, and they saw like just the tramp stamp looking part.
Oh
And
no.
and they started talking in Spanish and stuff. I didn't know what the freak they were saying. And then like 3 days later, we go to the hot springs. But pretty much they were flaming me. They were roasting me. And 3 days later, we go to the hot springs, and it's just me and her dad that go in the hot springs, and we chill. And so I take my shirt all the way off, and he was like, "Oh, thank God! I thought it was a tramp stamp." He said it in English, and I was like, "Oh no!"
For 3 days, he was just
yeah.
blasted you.
Yeah, getting roasted in Spanish. But
Yeah, I know how that is. So the last thing for relevancy, you may want to keep it down with your response. Marriage in the military?
there's no reason for me to keep that down. Yeah, so marriage.
I don't know. Maybe your girlfriend wanted a ring and she's like, "Oh, we talked about that."
You want these benefits? I'm just kidding. No. So yeah, it's that's very very relevant. Crazy. It still blows my mind that it's a thing. I understand it 1000%. It's a hustle. But the way of living in the army, in the barracks and stuff like that, some of these barracks are terrible, and honestly in this day and age are inhumane. Um even the housing on these bases are inhumane with black mold, etc., and stuff like that. And it's 2021, that shouldn't be a case. So these people, the way, how do we get out of that? Okay, I'm gonna marry my best friend, or like find this girl that, if they don't want to be viewed differently or stuff like that. Because a lot of these, guys that are completely straight will marry their guy best friend who's completely straight, and now they just have a bachelor pad because they got married. And on paper, who is somebody else to say like, oh, we don't think this marriage is legit? That's not going to happen. So they both at that point, if they're both military, they get dual BAH. So one's going to pretty much get a rate for having a dependent, which is like, your wife or your kid. So you're going to get a little bit more money, and the other's going to get, the BAH cost of living for, themselves, but not a dependent. So now they're racking in dual money, which is like, for me, without dependents, it's like $1,500 a month. So times that times two, what they're getting to pay for a house. Like, that's crazy income. And even if you don't marry somebody in the military, extra $1,500 to your paycheck to have a house, go live out on the market, get a 1 bedroom, that's going to cost you maybe, or a 2 bedroom, that's $1,300. And now you split it 2 ways. Now you're looking at $650 each, and you're getting the rest as pocket from that 1,500. That's crazy income. You know what I mean? So obviously people are doing that. And then you got to add in, life insurance, free medical for your wife and yourself and her kids if she has kids, and your kids or whatever. So yeah, the benefits are crazy in that sense. So it makes sense why people do it. I just could never bring myself to do that. It's when you go to actually have a real girlfriend or something like that, like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm married. But it's not legit, I swear. Like, I just don't want to go through that. So, yeah. But I've definitely contemplated it sometimes when like I've needed to help my family out, or like I've needed some money or something like that. I'm like, shit, might just have to do it.
Might just have to take one for the team right now.
Yeah. But yep.
Yeah,
Definitely relevant.
Two guys that I know are both in the military, are married. One is like 2 years younger than me, so he must be like 22, and that happened like 2 years ago. He must have been like 20 when he got married.
Yeah, I mean, even like, so we were just talking about it on a a benefit level, but it's so common too that high school relationships, people that go right in the military to high school marry their high school sweetheart or whatever. Um, Very common, whether she was ready or he was ready for that or not. And both of them are so young, they're like, "Oh, I don't want to be separated. Yeah, let's go do it." And they're divorced within 2 or 3 years. Um, that's, I mean, obviously an issue. I think on statistics of that, less of those last and more of those do. Um, those young relationships that instantly go into marriage with the military, it doesn't work out a lot. A lot of them have never, at that time, you've never experienced being away from each other. And what do you do in the military? You're away from people a lot. So there's a lot to experience in that situation. So yeah, very common.
Yeah, geez Louise. I'm just imagining imagining that.
Yeah, it's wild.
That's tough. Well, I mean, I guess it's good you didn't do that earlier.
Yeah. No, never. It's been a journey. I'm glad I didn't do that. I'm glad I never got into that situation. But
Is it
would have been more
possible to leave the barracks without being married?
Yes. So, and that's kind of another thing I was bringing up with like the army. You have to be you can get out at it as a sergeant sometimes. Which is, so you have sergeant, which is your rank, and then you have E5, which is your pay grade. Which kind of go hand in hand. So I'm a sergeant E5. In the Air Force, E5s they don't live in the barracks. They get BAH. They get their own place. Um, in the Army, majority of the E5s live in the barracks, and I think that's ridiculous. You can trust me to give me soldiers and have a leadership position, and also fraternization as a rule. Not messing with your soldiers and stuff like that within the work environment and sexual relations, those kind of things, or hanging out with them, drinking and partying and stuff together. But at the same time, you want me to get to know my soldiers, um, but you're forcing me to live with all these people, but fraternization's a rule. It just doesn't make sense. So if you're going to put people in leadership positions, move them out of the barracks. So that's my opinion.
And that's why you started streaming, because you can't talk to them, so you're like, fuck it. Let me load up Streamlabs.
I wish I would have knew about streaming a very long time ago. I didn't really know about Twitch and stuff until, heck, I mean, what was that? Infinite Warfare, maybe, which is really late in the game. I don't remember how long ago that was, but it was a good little minute.
I mean, I only started on Twitch. I think it was like World War II. World War II was the game that was out.
Yeah,
If we're talking COD timelines.
Like I didn't even watch streams. Like I didn't even know like Twitch was a thing. Not the fact that like I just didn't stream or didn't have the stuff to stream. I literally didn't even know about it. Um, yeah, I was really out of the loop for that kind of stuff. So I wish I would have known, got started earlier.
Yeah, no, the same thing happened with me. I was working for a financial news company, and one of the stories we did was about Drake investing in 100 Thieves, and I was like, the fuck is 100 Thieves? Like, esports is actually a thing. I remember watching, the LCS back in 2016 when I just loaded up the game and it would show it on the screen. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Fucking nerds. Have fun. And then and then I was like, wait a minute, this is actually cool as hell.
Yeah.
So
It's wild. I mean, just to see the last few years of change, from going to like Call of Duty alone, going from basic LAN and stuff like that for the pro scenes, to blowing up to the CDL and the CWL, and now being a full franchise thing, a multi-million-dollar franchise. Where you're talking about cities and stuff like that. Like that's crazy that we're living in that time now, to where video games has become that. Um, Pretty wild.
So how exactly do you balance streaming and being a military man?
Um,
I feel like I said that weird. How do you balance being a streamer and in the military? There you go. That was better.
I don't sleep. I don't sleep. Yeah, I get that question a good bit in stream. Like, yo, like, how do you? And recently these last couple of weeks, like, it really hit me. Not getting a lot of sleep and stuff like that. I've always been one that can run off of 4 to 6 hours of sleep. Even though it's not good, I can mentally still focus and be myself with those amount of hours. But man, I would work 10 to 12 hours sometimes more. Come home, stream 6 to 8 hours, and then go to bed and do it again, over and over. And I started to learn like, okay, like within this, let me take a day or 2 days off max, from that. And that'd be my reset day each week. Because if not, like I'm gonna burn myself out. It's just like, working 7 days a week for 3 or 4 weeks to a month, doing crazy labor. Like you're gonna burn out. Um, it's gonna happen. So with that, for me, was really just finding, and I'm still struggling with this as far as like adding, the gym into it. And adding these other small things that are a necessity and should be a necessity within that. And really finding that balance. And I think the biggest thing is coming down is to, if you know what your my work schedule is going to be only for that week, okay, I'm going to do a weekly schedule, but it might change the next week, and really keeping your people updated on that. Like, hey, this changes week to week. Um, so always look at my like pinned tweet or something, or go look at the schedule set in Discord. Sometimes I don't even have the ability to do that because stuff might be changing midweek. So I always say, like this is what it's supposed to be, but no, it's subject to change. Um, and with that, knowing like, okay, I'm going to have this little break, or at work, instead of eating my lunch, I'm going to go to the gym during that time. So I don't have to waste time on the back end for my stream time. Um, yeah, so it's a struggle, but it's definitely possible for people that say that they can't do it. It's BS. They just don't want to do it, in my opinion. So they don't want to put in the work.
Yeah, that is a serious grind. Oh my god, dude.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. And then when I was adding in like trying to do other content, because I don't know how to edit videos and stuff like that, and with money and all that, I'm really not trying to pay an editor all the time. If I did, if I did know how to edit, and I was slowly trying to learn how to do that, I would do YouTube, and add that in and do like a video a week. Cut down like, okay, this day I'm not going to stream. This will be my edit day. Really just chill out, do that, and then I post a video a week or video every 2 weeks or something. So many people are fascinated in Twitch with this idea of, I just have to put in max amount of hours and that's how I'm going to grow. And
Nope.
that's not the case.
No shot.
It's not how it is. Regardless, more if people know when they can find you and where they can find you when you're not online, Twitter, YouTube, etc., and you're making content in these other areas, like, okay, they know when to be there, they know what to look for. But I
Yeah.
always, when people ask the question, okay, how do you grow in streaming? I say, don't grow in streaming, grow on YouTube, grow on TikTok. If you have the
Exactly.
ability, if you have the ability to grow in other platforms that actually have a true discoverability, like TikTok, like YouTube, um, then you funnel them into your what you want to grow the most, which is Twitch, because Twitch doesn't really have discoverability. It's
It's
got the
terrible.
recommended channels. Yeah,
It's
it's got
terrible.
recommended channels. Thank God they added that, because I get a lot of people from that. But before that, it was awful. So always tell them grow in the other areas, and then funnel them to the Twitch. Well, this is where you can watch me live, because ultimately, like, that's their decision. You're asking people to literally stop whatever the fuck they're doing in the middle of their day. Sorry for my language, but whatever they're doing.
I've been saying shit
Okay.
the whole time. It's okay.
But whatever they're doing in the middle of their day, to stop and watch you. Now, why should they? Okay, and that's what you have to ask yourself when you're trying to grow. Why should these people stop whatever the hell they're doing out of their day to watch specifically you?
Mhm.
What makes you unique? And that doesn't have to be something crazy. You're not really going to reinvent the wheel anymore. Um, you might be that lucky person, but it's not likely. So why? What are you doing to bring people to you? Is kind of always how I describe it for people.
Yeah, well, we're definitely gonna need some more content from you on YouTube, because GB Nade from 8 years ago isn't doing it for me.
Oh wait, am I still on there?
Yeah.
I think it is. I think that's like the OG. I did some stuff in MW. I haven't really done anything in this game. Actually, the chows are on YouTube, but
Mhm.
yeah, I haven't really put much on YouTube at all. Like I said, I know nothing about editing, so what I put on YouTube is usually raw, uncut, straight from VOD. Um, yeah, so I need to figure that stuff out. That's, if there's anything I got to work on, it's that stuff, is
Mhm.
doing what I preach for other people to do.
Like, hey guys, make sure you're working on YouTube.
Yeah.
I don't have time for that. Yeah, no, fans of the show would know that I've been going dicko mode on TikTok, and that's definitely
I'll have to
something
yeah, make sure you send me your TikTok after this. I'll drop your follow on there. So
nice. Growing every day, baby. All right, Graham, thank you so much for coming onto the show, giving us some insight on both your streaming life, your actual life, military life, everything in between. It was fantastic talking to you. And one last question: where can the folks at home find you and your channels?
Yeah, man, awesome. Thank you for having me, for sure. This was actually a blast. So everybody, you can find me at twitch.tv/epidemic_, or on Twitter at just at epidemic. I can put it down. Okay.
Oh no, I had that copy and pasted since this started.
But so yeah, man, I appreciate it. Really, thank you.
Of course. And folks, today I don't feel like doing a musical guest. I don't know what song I was gonna sing. I just don't feel like it tonight. So this is actually going to be the end of the stream. I want to send it off with a raid.